Hello everyone, this is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. The title of this video is 14 Things to Do, including sex, during astral projection. So strap in, my friends, or strap on, whatever the case may be, and I hope this is going to be a fun and informative video. I posted an article about this yesterday on Reddit, and as a result, we got a couple hundred new Astral Club members. So let's all give them a hearty welcome aboard. So I've been astral projecting now for 57 years, and I've done a lot of things. There's still a ton more things to do on the astral plane, but I get questions on a regular basis about, okay, astral projection, what do I do? So these are the 14 things that I've done that you can do too. And hopefully you will in the very near future. I do want to mention, though, before I get started, I want to congratulate Chance Smith. He is an Astral Club member, and after listening to these videos, he had himself his first astral projection. So kudos to Chance Smith, Astral Club member who has just begun astral projecting. Okay, let's get into it. Number one, flying. When I feel like just having fun, I'll leave my body, I'll go outside, and I'll find a spot in the clouds somewhere. And I'll decide I want to be there, and I'll will myself there. Occasionally, I'll take off slowly, but usually what happens, I'll either take off like a rocket, or I'll just find myself there. Flying around is probably one of the most thrilling things that I think you can do in the astral. Is it the most highly spiritual, advanced thing you'll ever do? No, but it's fun, and there's nothing wrong with having fun. I've enjoyed flying through thunderclaps, or thunderclouds rather. They're extremely energizing, but I also enjoy just flying over a crashing surf near a beach, or flying over windswept mountains like the Rocky Mountains. It's very energizing, and it's just an awful lot of fun. That's number one. Number two, tourism. Let's face it, tourism is expensive. You may see yourself walking on the Great Wall of China. You may see yourself roaming in the Roman Colosseum, sorry about that one, and figuring out the riddle of the Egyptian Sphinx. The only small teeny-weeny problem is you're on a Six Flags budget, so these things aren't just going to happen anytime soon. So what do? Well, with astral projection, you can travel to these places and check them out yourself. And the cool thing about being in the astrals, you'll be able to see some things that the average person can't see, and you'll be able to sense some truth and history in these places that the average physical person is incapable of sensing. My favorite places to go in the past have been Stonehenge, the Mayan step pyramids. There's a lot of history in those things, believe me. And the Sistine Chapel. Just an awful lot of solemnity there, and I just found it so peaceful. Those are some of my favorites. There are certainly many others. Number three, healing. Now, I have insomnia from time to time, and when I'm on the astral plane, I will sometimes absorb energy, let's say through thunderclouds, for instance. And that has aided me in some cases. I remember I couldn't sleep for 5 days, and I was still functioning. I was still going to work and driving and being productive. If I hadn't been astral projecting and recharging there, I never would have survived 5 days without sleep. Now, does that mean I'm telling you not to sleep anymore? No, sleep is absolutely the best medicine. But when I hit insomnia periods, then this is what I do. One thing I want to caution now, you can also use astral healing. You can use energy to project into creatures like your pets or your family members. But I want to caution people. My daughter is a physician's assistant, and I think she chose a very, very worthy occupation. Her name is Rose. She's in one of my videos where we're talking about my daughter's astral experiences. Anyway, physical medicine that she practices when she sees patients is normally the most effective to treat physical bodies. So, experiment with astral healing, absolutely. But please, please continue to follow your medical provider's medical plan for you. And anyone who tells you you can throw out your cancer medication or whatever else and just do astral healing is not someone you should probably trust. Number 4, reduce fear of death. I don't know about y'all. I don't think I'm ever going to die. But my guess is some of you guys might. So, just kidding, obviously. Seriously, I find that my fear of death, my animal fear of ceasing to exist, has dramatically decreased as a result of my astral projection experiences. That's probably one of the biggest fears that mankind has. So I think it's an excellent, excellent way to help reduce that fear. Number 5, and this comes up on a regular basis too, communicating with relatives who've passed. I've been able to say goodbye to my grandmother when she passed away in 1976. And I was able to say goodbye to my father-in-law, who I had a great relationship with, when he passed away unexpectedly. Most entities, most spirits, when they pass over from the physical plane, stay very near the physical plane and the astral for a number of days to a few weeks or so before they pass on higher. During this period of time, it is very possible to communicate with them in the astral. Now, once they pass on to higher planes, it becomes increasingly difficult to near impossible to communicate with them. But during that period of time, it is very possible. And while we're talking about communicating with the those who passed on, let me just comment about the ghost machines and the ghost programs that are out there today. I don't mind exploring the unknown. However, these ghost boxes, most of them I don't think work. The ones that perhaps do get some communication, keep in mind that the entities that are communicating with those people over those ghost boxes are very low creatures just looking to screw with gullible humans. Just because an entity has passed over, if he was an idiot in the physical, when he passed over, he's still an idiot. You don't gain automatic spiritual wisdom just because you die. So my take on that is leave the ghost machines alone. They're just nothing that's going to help you realize the truth of the universe. Number 6, time travel. This is one of my favorite activities, and I've shared some experiences with you. As an experienced astral projector, I have visited dinosaurs. And as a matter of fact, I remember as a child, I saw dinosaurs that had these downy feathers on them. And when I got back, I actually doubted. I remember writing down that I doubt this was real because dinosaurs didn't have feathers, of course. Now, when I wrote that, this was back in the, early 70s, I was really interested in dinosaurs. And they were pictured at that point in time as these slow-moving, lumbering reptiles that were clumsy. No feathers at all. I found it interesting a number of years back when scientists started saying, hey, we think some dinosaurs may have had some feathers. So that was very interesting. Anyway, I've traveled far into the future as well. There's a video on that. When the Earth was swallowed by the sun. One of my favorite past travels was when I visited a North American mammoth, or woolly mammoth herd, about 20,000 years ago. And that was amazing. I mean, you haven't lived till you've seen a huge herd of these woolly mammoths. They were monstrously tall. I remember the bull was around 13 foot tall or around 4 meters. And his tusks must have really impressed the ladies. I could certainly write a book on these travels, and I probably will in the future. Keep in mind, though, that the past cannot be changed. Sorry, Back to the Future fans. And the future, though, exists as infinite possibilities that we as humans, we as a species, slowly collapse until we all pick one to be our collective joint reality. Number 7, parallel worlds, rather. This is a cousin to time travel, but it's a little different. In the multiverse theory, which has gained a lot of adherents nowadays in the scientific community, imagine when the universe was created, it wasn't just our universe. It was a myriad of other universes that existed in slightly different dimensional spaces. All of these very complex clocks all got started at the same time. However, through chaos theory, little changes, little alterations that happen in a variety of these dimensions have led to sometimes very similar realities to ours, sometimes very, very different realities than the one we currently experience. I've traveled to these on a few occasions. It's usually been by accident. I was trying to time travel, but my will, my mind, for my destination, I allowed it to wander a little bit, and so I ended up branching off into a different space. In one particular parallel reality, I experienced by hovering above a battle where George Washington was killed early in the American Revolutionary War. I remember the psychic shout was that His Excellency the General has just been killed. I forwarded myself in that reality into the 80s, and I'd been able to find out by seeing some books and looking at the covers, and also a newspaper, that for the first time the North and South were joining in one American team in the Olympics. It was one of the Olympics in the 80s. So the South had parted, had established its own entity underneath the British Empire's umbrella. Although I imagine there were some political changes over the years, but the North and the South were still separate, and they were finally establishing some sort of rapprochement in this particular parallel realities history when they were joining each other in the Olympics, representing America as one particular state. 8, the Akashic Records. I get questions about this all the time. I have to be honest, I've never been. I've spent way too many hours in too many libraries in my life. I just haven't sought it out. However, I have had students who have mentioned that they visited this Akashic Records where all of the records of this iteration of the universe are kept. So it's there, but I haven't visited it personally. Under the Ocean Exploration, number 9. I've only done this a couple of times because deep, dark oceans have freaked me out since I saw the movie Jaws as a kid. My parents, I remember, took us to see the movie because it was raining when we were at the New Jersey seashore. So I saw Jaws at the New Jersey seashore. And anyway, seriously, who the heck swims out buck naked to the buoy at night? I didn't get that, and I still don't to this day. At any rate, I remember one particular astral projection. I was feeling depressed, which is not a good time to project, by the way, because like attracts like, and you can attract things that you don't want to attract. Anyway, I sighted this astral life form, which was around 12 foot or about 3.5 meters tall. It was like a glowing astral tulip-looking plant animal, and it was in the depths of the ocean in the lower astral. It broadcast this call to me, promising me warmth, peace, and rest, and I was drawn to it. I went into a trance state and started moving towards it when I suddenly came to my senses and snapped out of it. So if you want to go into the deep sea, do so happy, do so joyously, and I'm sure you're going to be just fine. You won't see this on a Nat Geo special anytime soon. I'm pretty sure about that. But if you do go in the ocean, just stay away from any big glowing tulips. Number 10, outer space travel. I've talked about some of my experiences as well here. This is one of my favorites. While I might be afraid of going underneath the sea, I'm not afraid of going into space. I've been to the side of the moon, which is called the dark side because it always faces away from us. I've flown through the sun, and I kind of told myself it was like fire walking. I rode a tumbling asteroid cruising by the Earth, which was by far the coolest ride I've ever been on. However, I'm lucky I didn't have a stomach because I probably would have lost the contents if I'd been in my physical body. It was like this weird shaped kind of figure eight potato that was going end over end, and I was riding it, and it was just a lot of fun. Also, sailing on an ice rock circling the planet Saturn is just a few trips that I've enjoyed. Number 11, psychic side effects. I've noticed that when I astral project a lot, my senses of telepathy, reading minds, and precognition, knowing the future, really starts kicking in pretty hard. I have to be careful during those times of extreme astral projecting because I sometimes answer people before they actually ask me the question, and that really disturbs people. So I have to wait until they're finished talking. In one interesting case of precognition, I was driving and I was in this altered type state. I thought I heard my phone ding. So I listened to this message. And when I returned home and was in a normal state of mind, I saw there was no message on my phone. 12 hours later, a message was left on my phone. It was the exact message that I had heard that morning. Now, that really definitely sent a chill down my spine. I can tell you that much. Number 12, gain spiritual wisdom. You can meet some interesting characters and entities on the various astral planes. Some will waste your time, but others will have some true wisdom for you. I've dealt with beings that some folks might call angels, and my video drafted by an angel certainly details an experience with that type of entity, as well as lower astral creatures that are just out to leech energy from alcoholics and drug abusers and poor folks who dwell in those spaces. So yes, you can definitely use astral projection to gain vast spiritual wisdom. And I have done so, and I will share that sometime in the future. Number 13, merge with the consciousness of animals. Now, you have to proceed with caution on this one, and I'm going to be honest with you. I almost didn't list this one because it has some hazards. But I figured, listen, I'll be a hypocrite and maybe a little condescending, which I do not want to be to my Astral Club members, for not listing that it's at least possible. So I'll describe some of my experiences to you. Please take my warnings seriously. I've merged with a large cat that was running wild in the future of North America. When I took over control, it was running. I guess I hadn't thought this really through. I took control over its consciousness and I promptly proceeded to flip head over heels, tripping over my own 4 feet. I felt like an idiot. Actually, I felt like a moron in substantial pain. I eventually got the hang of walking on all 4 of my sore legs after a few minutes. And don't judge. You should try it sometime. It's hard when you're used to walking around on just 2 legs. I was only there for about 15 minutes or so within the animal when I decided to leave. Another time I merged, this was one of my few ocean explorations, I merged with a big hungry fish. Now, I don't know what it was. They don't have mirrors in the ocean. It was very dark as well. I didn't try to control the voluntary brain this time, as I can barely swim as a human. So I more or less audited the experience, and I leaped just as it bit into a smaller fish. The sensations I was experiencing was very alien. I mean, sushi's okay, but this was ridiculous. Now, in this case, I couldn't really see too well, as the ocean was only lit by the moon, and I don't think it was even a full moon. But I sensed the location of my prey ahead. A third time, I wrote about this in my Reddit article, and also in a video where I talked about seeing through a dino croc's eyes. I was in this gigantic dino crocodile from about 75 million years ago for a handful of minutes. I went into its mind mistakenly because I was on top of it, and I was wondering to myself, I wonder what it's thinking, and that's when I merged with it. Believe me, I wouldn't have done so on purpose. I was confronted with these alien images, these alien smells, and what have you. It was a very, very alien experience, if I can use that term. I left after a handful of minutes because it was warming up and I could sense a battle for consciousness, and I wasn't really interested in staying longer anyway. But there was some astral side effects. I had a tendency for a few weeks after that to enjoy the smell of rotting meat in garbage. I also found myself unconsciously sizing up four-legged animals when I saw them walking on the street as possible prey items. This was disturbing. Luckily for the neighborhood garbage bags and the four-legged pets, those side effects gradually faded away in a few weeks. So, there you go. Word to the wise. Please use good judgment. Now, lastly, 14, astral sex. If I hadn't mentioned this one, somebody surely would have commented. Yes, astral sex is a thing. Now, on the lower levels of the astral plane, it's really similar to our physical knocking boots without quite as much wear and tear on the old naughty bits. The overall sensation is like a stimulating electric current running through the astral frame. As a kid, I put my finger in the light socket, and it kind of feels like that, if you've ever done that too, only replace discomfort with immense pleasure, and you'll get an idea of what it's like. On the higher astral levels, though, it's very, very, very different. It's a true joining of souls. It's not done just for fun. All of one's secrets are suddenly revealed to your partner. And in some cases, you and they live out portions of that person's life as if it was you and your life. Even when you separate from this person, part of them lives within you always. Well, that is today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. We are now at over 1,500 members of Astral Club, and I could not be happier. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, and my goodness, why haven't you? Please hit the subscribe button and smash that bell, because then you get notified whenever I post a new video, which is generally Saturday morning. Share it. If you have likewise minded friends, relatives, go ahead and share this video with them. And please comment. I love your questions. I love your comments. And many times they give me ideas for future videos. Which reminds me, next week's future video is going to be on astral senses and how they differ from our physical body's senses. I'll list the Astral Plane Club website down there in the description section. And as always, I'm Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.